This video is sponsored by LOWA, serious boots for serious hikers. Today was the day for another big challenge, climbing Mitre Peak in Fiordland National Park. My mate Pete and I were up well before sunrise, packing gear in the dark and trusting the forecast, which promised perfect conditions by mid-morning. We left his place in Tianu while the stars were still out, ready to take on one of the most iconic climbs in all of New Zealand.
So we made it to Milford Sound. It's 6:13 in the morning. We're hoping to get out pretty quick. The earlier the better, because it's going to be a massive day.
The only way of getting to the mountain was to cross the waters of Milford Sound. Pete brought an inflatable pack raft, which turned out to be an absolute nightmare to inflate. But once we got it all pumped up, it was time to set sail and head towards Mitre Peak.
Pete's just moving the car and we'll be right to sail up to the start of the Mitre Peak climb. You're right about an adventure.
Not only was the raft a mission to inflate, it was just as tricky to control. Keeping it straight as we paddled was a constant battle against the current. But no matter how tough it was, we couldn't argue with the views we were getting of Milford Sound.
Was a mission and a half.
For me, no adventure's complete without a pair of LOWA boots.
So I've got here the Randeer GTX Mid. Now I've never worn these before, and that's one of the great things about LOWA is you can take them straight out of the box and wear them without having to wear them in.
Once the gear was sorted and we hid the pack raft, it was time to escape the sandflies and get moving.
Alright, here we go.
The first part of the climb took us straight into steep, dense Fiordland bush. With no marked trail, we relied heavily on Pete's navigation skills as we scrambled our way through roots and ferns, slippery moss and uneven terrain. Mitre Peak finally came into view as we cleared the bushline after more than an hour of climbing. It was an impressive sight, but we were still a long way from the top. higher we went, the more exposed the trail got. Although it wasn't the steepest descent I've ever done, the sheer drop-offs were hard to ignore. Climbs like this just don't exist in Australia. The overwhelming height matched with the exposure were completely out of my comfort zone, and it was starting to shake me more than I expected. To make things harder, we were running behind time. The pressure was on, and it felt like we were racing against the clock.
So I've been sitting here for a while contemplating whether or not to continue, and I've decided to call it quits on Mitre Peak today. Obviously extremely disappointed, but the last 20 minutes or so my fear of heights has kicked in really bad. The exposure's gotten a bit worse, and the height now is something like 1,300 meters above sea level, and I know it's only going to get worse the higher we go because the exposure is going to get worse as well. I told Pete to keep going. I wanted him to get to the top, and I gave him my GoPro and said get me some footage so I can see what it's like from there. But yeah, I'm just going to go down at that campsite just a bit below and wait for him there, and hopefully I'll see him in a few hours.
Alright guys, a quick shout out to today's sponsor, LOWA. For over 100 years they've been creating high quality hiking boots for serious outdoor fanatics. I've been wearing their boots for a number of years now, and honestly, they're my go-to boots for any adventure. Here's why. First off, they're ready to go straight out of the box. No breaking in, no blisters. Just put them on and hit the trail. And I'm not kidding when I say they look amazing. LOWA really knows how to design a good looking boot. But it's not just about looks, these boots feel quality. They're built tough, ready for any rough terrain or crazy conditions you throw at them. What I love is they give you excellent protection for your toes without being too rigid, so you get heaps of flexibility up front where you need it. The grip is next level, even on slippery rocks or muddy trails. And comfort, my feet don't get sore anywhere near as much anymore. Plus, with the waterproof and breathable tech like Gore-Tex, you're covered in rain, puddles and sweaty conditions. They've got great ankle support, they're lightweight, and honestly, they just look great. LOWA is seriously obsessed with going the extra mile for comfort, fit and innovation, so you know they're absolute legends when it comes to hiking and the outdoors. You can bet they've put all the expertise into making boots that are perfect for any trail. Big thanks to LOWA for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the link below and treat your feet to some proper boots. With the GoPro strapped to his head, Pete set off up the final climb to the summit of Mitre Peak. I watched on as he disappeared into the clouds.
Here I am, making it to the summit of Mitre Peak. Oh, that was a gnarly scramble, about 45 minutes from where I left Paul. Absolutely nailed it, pretty spicy though. Woo, here we are, summit of Mitre Peak, baby. Yeah! Wild climb, wild free climb since I left Paul. There's Paul down there on that ridge. That's wrapping up Mitre Peak summit, heading back down.
The footage Pete captured on the descent is easily some of the most insane footage my GoPro has ever captured. One false move and it could have been a 1,600 metre tumble straight into the waters of Milford Sound below.
Just coming down the notch, Mitre Peak, probably the crux of it all. Yeah, there's a way down there. I just down climbed all of this, like definitely gets the adrenaline flowing.
Pete had made his way down through the toughest section of the Mitre Peak climb, passing the campsite, and was working his way through the bush to where we would be reunited and tackle the final stretch together.
Last bit of water.
After 11 hours of paddling across the sound, climbing up the mountain and making our way back down, we had finally set foot at the base of Mitre Peak once again.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah, no.
Ah,
Made it down.
made it down.
We were exhausted and dreading the paddle back across the sound. Luckily, Pete's mate Mitch was working in Milford that day and came to the rescue with a boat, saving us from the final slog. Cruising across Milford was the perfect way to end the day. Even though I didn't make it to the summit, I was proud to take on such an epic challenge. And the best part, my feet weren't even sore, thanks to my new LOWA boots. We hit the shore at 8 PM, officially bringing the mission to an end. A massive shout out to Kiwi Pete for pulling together this wild New Zealand adventure. It's one I'll never forget.